He was only 12 years old, his body marked with fresh bruises, when he pushed open the heavy door of a biker clubhouse in the middle of December, a place most grown men avoided, especially during the cold weeks leading up to Christmas. And he didn't come asking for money or sympathy, but for something that stunned everyone inside when he quietly said he wanted to work. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. The old door creaked loudly, rusty from years of winter air, and every conversation stopped as heads turned toward the sound. Pool balls frozen mid-roll, and a half-played Christmas song from a small radio cut off. In the doorway stood a skinny boy swallowed by an oversized gray hoodie, his breath visible in the cold air, duct tape holding his worn sneakers together, and a mix of purple and yellow bruises darkening his cheek like a shadow he couldn't hide. Someone laughed and told him he had the wrong place. Another joked it wasn't a charity, but the boy didn't move, didn't flinch, and stepped fully inside as the door slammed shut behind him with a final thud. The clubhouse smelled of oil, old leather, and burnt coffee, with faded Christmas lights strung lazily along the walls, blinking unevenly. In a calm but careful voice, the boy explained he could sweep floors, clean tools, organize parts after school, anything at all, and that only made the laughter louder until one man didn't laugh at all. Keller, the club's sergeant-at-arms, sat quietly in the corner, a broad man with a scarred face and eyes that had seen too much, and when he stood, the room fell silent again. He asked the boy's name, learned it was Noah Collins from Oak Street, a foster home Keller knew had a bad reputation, and when he asked about the bruise, the boy claimed he fell off his bike, though his tightened jaw told a different story. Keller pressed gently, not accusing, just listening, and when Noah finally snapped that it shouldn't matter, Keller said softly that it did, especially this time of year. After a long pause, Keller told him to sit on the torn couch near the window decorated with fake snow stickers, not to touch anything or talk, and then walked away. For hours, Noah sat there while the club carried on around him, Christmas daylight fading into blue dusk outside, until the club's cook quietly left him a sandwich and soda, which he ate slowly like food was never guaranteed. When Keller returned, he found Noah exactly where he'd left him and crouched down to offer him a simple deal. $10 an hour, 3 days a week, 2 hours each day, starting Tuesday. No stealing, no lying, no excuses. Noah's eyes widened just a little, hope flickering like a fragile Christmas light daring not to burn out, and he agreed instantly. As Noah left, Keller told him the bruise wasn't from a bike, not as a question but a statement, and reminded him of the start time. After the boy disappeared into the cold, Keller told the others that the kid was asking for a lifeline, and during Christmas, no less, they weren't about to turn away. The following Tuesday, Noah arrived early, shivering outside under a string of flickering lights, knocking like he was bracing himself for rejection, but Keller opened the door immediately and led him into the garage, where tools were lined up with precision and the air smelled of fuel, metal, and something new, a quiet promise that maybe, just maybe, this Christmas would be different for both the boy and the town watching from the shadows. The garage smelled warmer than the cold December air outside, and strings of red and green Christmas lights hung loosely above the workbenches as Keller introduced Noah to a thin, wiry man called Lucky, whose arms were covered in old tattoos and whose hands were permanently stained with grease from years of fixing engines. Lucky was bent over a Harley motor, working with calm confidence, and when he straightened up, he studied Noah closely with sharp eyes that had seen a lot of struggle in life, then simply nodded when Keller explained the kid would help with cleaning and organizing. Lucky pointed Noah toward the brooms and told him to start there. And once Keller left, Noah worked like the floor mattered more than anything else, sweeping carefully into corners no one else bothered with, as if doing the job perfectly might keep something bad from happening. Lucky pretended not to notice, but after an hour, he called Noah over, told him to stop calling him sir, and handed him a box full of mixed bolts and washers that had spilled earlier, asking him to sort them by type and size. Noah sat on the cold concrete floor, legs crossed, and carefully arranged the parts in neat rows, lining them up with a level of focus that surprised Lucky, who soon realized the kid wasn't just helping, he was bringing order to chaos. When Lucky commented on it, Noah briefly mentioned his dad used to fix cars before he left, then shut down again, and Lucky didn't push, instead offering to teach him engine basics if he kept showing up, which made Noah's face light up brighter than the Christmas bulbs hanging overhead. That evening, Moose Joe, the club's older member with a white beard and a past full of loss, offered to walk Noah home, saying nothing at first as snow crunched under their boots, then gently asking about school and friends, already knowing the answers by Noah's quiet shrug. When they reached Oak Street, the yellow house came into view, dark and tense, with a large shadow moving angrily inside, and Joe saw Noah physically shrink as they got closer, shoulders tight and head lowered. Joe stopped him one house away and handed him a card with a garage number, telling him to call any time if things got bad. And Noah accepted it with confusion and gratitude, asking why Joe cared, to which Joe simply said that anyone brave enough to ask for work instead of pity deserves someone watching their back, especially during Christmas. Over the next few weeks, Noah became part of the garage routine, showing up early despite the cold, learning fast, gaining calluses and a small spark of confidence, until one Thursday evening the clubhouse door slammed open and Clive Henderson, his foster father, stormed in drunk and angry, demanding Noah come home immediately. Lucky stepped in front of the boy without thinking, and Keller followed, calm but firm, claiming paperwork approval that didn't exist, while other bikers quietly formed a wall behind him, their presence enough to make Clive hesitate. Keller pointed out the bruises, the fear, the missed caseworker visits, and Clive's anger cracked under the pressure, revealing more than he meant to before storming out with a threat. Noah stood shaking, whispering that he had to go or things would be worse. And this time Joe walked him home again while another biker circled the block on his motorcycle, the sound echoing like a warning through the cold Christmas night. When they reached the yellow house, Clive was visible inside, pacing with a bottle in hand. And though Joe told Noah he didn't have to go in, Noah explained flatly that running meant group homes, and group homes were worse, his voice carrying the weight of experience no child should ever have, especially this close to Christmas. Joe listened as Noah explained quietly that this was his fourth placement, and that after this, the system stopped trying, kids just moved around until they aged out, and something inside Joe cracked like ice under pressure because the boy said it calmly, like someone talking about the weather, even forcing a small smile that hurt worse than tears as he thanked Joe again for the job and started toward the door with Christmas lights glowing faintly outside the window. Joe had to fight the urge to grab him, to put him on the back of his bike and never let him go, but he knew rules and systems existed, even if those same systems had failed his own son years ago. So the moment Noah stepped inside the yellow house, Joe called Keller and told him they were out of time, that Clive was going to seriously hurt the kid, and Keller agreed, telling him to meet at Tina's diner. The diner was warm and smelled like coffee and cinnamon rolls, decorated with faded holiday garlands, and Tina poured them mugs without asking, already knowing something was wrong. Keller explained they needed evidence to move fast, but legally. And Tina went quiet before disappearing into the back and returning with a dusty box of old records, revealing that 20 years earlier a young waitress named Emma Collins had worked there, sweet, young, pregnant, and devoted to her baby boy before suddenly vanishing without picking up her last paycheck. When Tina produced an old Polaroid of Emma holding a baby named Noah, Keller felt the room go cold despite the heater humming, realizing this wasn't coincidence. And he immediately asked for copies of everything because no loving mother disappeared without a reason, especially days before Christmas when people held tighter to what little family they had. The investigation moved fast after that, with Keller's CPS contact pushing the case forward. Using Joe's quietly documented photos of Noah's injuries and school records, and when Emma's disappearance resurfaced, the story unraveled completely, revealing that Clive had claimed to find Noah abandoned years ago and had collected foster payments while staying just under the radar, moving counties whenever attention got too close. By Thursday night, Noah had no idea what was coming. Only that Lucky told him he had Friday off and to trust them, while Moose Joe personally walked him home, telling Clive plainly that Noah had an appointment in the morning, his calm backed by the quiet presence of bikes idling nearby, Christmas lights reflecting off chrome like silent warnings. Friday morning arrived cold and bright, frost covering the streets, and Joe picked Noah up at 7 sharp, Clive watching from the porch as Noah climbed onto the bike in his same hoodie and taped shoes, confused and scared, but listening when Joe told him they were going to the courthouse to talk about choices, real ones. The hearing felt endless, with evidence laid out piece by piece until Clive's lies collapsed completely. And when the judge asked Noah where he wanted to go, he looked at Joe and said he wanted to stay with the Rust Fangs, the only people who had ever asked him what he wanted. The judge granted emergency guardianship. Clive was escorted out shouting, and Noah never looked back. By Sunday, the clubhouse had turned a storage room into a bedroom, complete with fresh paint, a solid bed, motorcycle sheets, and Christmas lights taped along the wall. And when Keller raised a beer to welcome Noah as family, the boy couldn't speak through the burning in his eyes. Later that night, Joe found him sitting outside under the stars, and when Noah asked about his mom, Joe promised they would look for the truth together, no matter how hard it was. Inside, Noah's homework hung beside ride schedules, his drawings taped to the fridge, and his name written neatly on a toolbox, proof that while the system failed him, a cold December, a kid asking for work, and a group of flawed men choosing kindness had given him something better than rescue. They gave him a family, just in time for Christmas.